What's up, everyone, and welcome to the 52nd episode of the Sunday Recap Podcast. I'm here with Pastor Steph. What's up, Pastor Steph?
Howdy.
Welcome back.
I'm using howdy because I've been rodeoing.
Oh, yeah, and you got the boots on today?
I got my boots on.
Mm-hmm.
It's good
It
season.
is not rodeo weather.
I've been to Arkansas and a rodeo all in the past 2 weeks.
Wow.
So howdy.
So howdy.
Howdy there.
That's right. It is rodeo season. Uh-huh. It is a season of you back preaching on Sunday.
Yep.
Taking 2 Sundays, going on the same topic. Pastor West spoke about sitting at the feet of Jesus, and speaking about that season and those
always
times.
time for that.
It's always time for that.
Always time for that.
And then Pastor James talking about God's timing. So we've been talking about timing, setting up this season's message to everything. There is a season.
Yeah.
And this is what we've been building for.
We're building for
all year. Before you make any plans, that was message 1. That was the first message of the year. And then building into roles and all these different things to set up here.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about Arkansas for a second because that kind of plays into your message.
Yep.
Number 1, why were you in Arkansas? Number 2, how does it play into your message?
I was in Arkansas speaking at a women's conference. It was really cool. It was actually a camp I went to when I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a pretty busy season. I probably would have said no. But then when I found out it was like my childhood camp,
Right.
and it was ironic. Like, I don't even know if the people there knew that was my childhood camp, but I got invited and I was like, I have to.
Yeah.
This is just fun. So I got to speak there, and a couple months ago, they were like, yeah, we're doing this thing and we're going to be talking about seasons, and you can pick whatever season you want. You can pick first. So but it was really cool because I felt like God had already brought me into this year,
Right.
really in this context of seasons and assignments, and feeling that this year of 2026, that there's really an assignment for the body of Christ. And we sometimes, neglect to recognize it just because we're busy trying to figure out our dreams and our goals. And so we've been in this for a while, and but seasons are great because it helps, us understand some frustration. But anyways, at this conference, they let me pick, and I wouldn't have picked this, but I went with summer. And I got some summer content. And let me tell you, the self-control that I was using on Sunday to not just full out go summer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know where this ends up. I love studying it because I really do think when you identify the season you're in, just information and a recognition actually really brings relief. And I love that. I think it's one of the things that I really feel called to do. I think growing up in church and always I've never not been with the Lord, but even being with the Lord, being a Christian, being in the church, there's frustration.
Right.
And what I don't ever like to happen is for the frustration to be ill-placed at the Lord. If we can bring some understanding into it.
Yeah.
And so, I enjoy talking about seasons. I love people kind of locating where they are, even if it's difficult. At least there's a reason for it,
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to be on this topic. I don't know if I want to do a continuing ed on it because I think it just goes so much deeper.
Right.
But kind of on a journey. Where's the Lord?
Yeah.
What are people wanting to know, and where's the Lord leading us?
Absolutely. And it's also funny that you chose summer, being in I guess you can say in Texas we are either still in winter or spring, but you chose the summer one, which actually gets you set up for you'll have some summer content. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, and summer I picked it because it's my worst.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at summer.
Yeah.
Like even winter, as far as a spiritual season, never have liked it before, but I feel like I came out of a winter season not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I just drug my feet through it and hated it every minute. And all of a sudden I'm like, actually, winter's vibes.
Yeah.
In the natural and spiritual. The sun goes down really early, bedtime's early, it's dark, it's cozy, it's blankets, it's pajamas.
Right.
Actually, why are we so against winter? So I learned to spiritually, like the minute I was like, I like winter, I feel like the Lord was like, okay, good, because we're moving now.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's all you're waiting for is for me to like it.
Yeah.
So summer was a challenge. Summer is really about stewarding and discipline.
Yeah.
But we don't. We're like, no, summer's about fun. No, it ain't.
Yeah, I like how you said that. And we'll get into that, but I like that you kind of started off talking about like the actual physical seasons, like the nature and how awesome God is that he designed all these seasons.
Everything is, and reflection.
He implemented that in us.
Yep.
And the seasons that change in nature are the same ones that we go through and we change, and they have a lot of the same elements.
that cyclical process. I mean, it's really for anything. I mean, today we were in a department head meeting not that long ago, and we're talking about some things that are coming up. Well, they go through seasons. The season of sitting and just kind of the dark. We don't really know what it is. We got more night coming up. So what's the vision for? What are we going to talk about? We're not doing anything. We're not moving forward on it, but what are we saying? We're kind of sit alone in the dark with the Lord and go, Lord, what are you saying about the next more night?
Yeah.
Then it moves into, okay, we got it. Now let's start planting seeds of more night. And then it's, okay, let's start doing the thing, right? And then it's the night of, it's harvest night, more night's great. Everything actually, if you look at anything, childbirth, pregnancy, children, buying a new home, going to the doctor, everything works in this phasing.
Yes.
And if you're out of phase with what the natural phases are, you're going to be frustrated every single time.
Yeah, you were talking about like bringing in that aspect, and you came and restored the ones that you dunked on from the natural, but like the spirit, like the winter season. The winter season being like this terrible and awful season. Yeah, right. That's what we see it as. At least,
we see it as it.
You know, and it's this season where things are cold, things are dark, things are without hope. In our eyes. And then you kind of went through that spring season. This is for the spring people. This is everything's good. We get excited in spring. It starts not becoming as dark. It starts to brighten up. There seems to be a lot of like time to be able to. And I can't remember if this was the planting season. Was it
spring you begin to start to plant. And it's great because you're planting for harvest, but you're also like flowers pop really quick.
Right.
So you plant flowers, quick visual display just feels life-giving,
And you said summer, and I think in one sentence it's like, it seems fun, but exhausting.
Yeah, it's hot.
Right? It's hot, right?
Texas is a perfect client for this topic because in the north, they get like a long fall and a long spring, and they're really beautiful. Texas, it's either summer or it's winter, and you get a week of spring and fall.
Yes.
Don't get too attached. And that's how I feel like sometimes it feels spiritually like there's a lot of winter and dryness, and there's a lot of heat. But there's those moments of spring and fall that are so good that the Lord's near, and those sweet moments of tasting and seeing the goodness of the Lord kind of helps you to navigate those tougher seasons a little better.
Yeah, and then going into that is that fall season, that season of the harvest, and you are. I will say from knowing you personally, you are extremely a fall person.
I'm a fall girly. August 1st, I'm here for it.
Yes, and it's funny because as somebody who like makes the art and the banners around here and things like that. Like, you're always like, hey, like, I just want to let you know, technically it is fall right now. I know it seems like summer, but
a little summery for me.
And you'll be like, I need you to bring the fall vibes in. I know the nature isn't listening right now, but I need you to.
We begin to prophesy and believe. Yeah. It's, that we talk about, ushering in the presence of God.
Yes.
So you honor this thing and you usher. That's how I feel about fall.
Yes.
August 1st, we all need to lock in. Yes. We bring out the cardigans and we do the thing because it'll feel respected. It'll come faster.
Yes.
But maybe that's manipulating the seasons, and that's what the whole sermon was about.
Well, yeah,
probably.
And this message, what you were talking about even before the pod, you're like, I don't want to get into too much of my next week's message, which is kind of really seeing ourselves in these seasons, and like defining it. And this, and finding our roles. This is kind of just more like we were trying
to locate ourselves a little bit this week.
See where you are in this season. I know when you were speaking, you've actually told me earlier this year from a pastor / ministry employee standpoint, I'm sure along with other people have all these ideas and things and all this stuff like, well, here's what we want to do. And I remember you telling me, being like, hey, okay, just remember that don't plant so many things that you're going to have to like steward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's really good. Sometimes we think, I think it's the difference between a good idea and a God idea, right? But I find myself kind of transitioning into this summer season of, hey, everything that you planted in spring, it's a lot of work. When it's hot outside, the temperature gets turned up and it gets exhausting.
You got to maintain all that. Yep.
And make sure, and when you maintain what God told you to plant,
He finishes good work. He starts and He sends the resources. Whatever you plant without Him, though, that's on you.
Yeah. So if you want to steward that and let that thing die, you know what I mean?
But I can say that as like the first time going to this season, being like, finally, I got it, Lord. Yes. Experience has taught me, because I can do some spring. Like if I get some ideas, I love a good idea, and I would go and just like every seed I picked up, I would cast it and plant it. And not all good ideas are God ideas. Yep. And protecting what you plant in the spring involves self-control that I don't think we recognize. Yep. And harvesting in the fall requires a lot of hard work. and a lot of letting go that I don't think we require. So we kind of like glamorize those seasons in our life because we're like, because they feel like consuming seasons.
Yep.
We're planting, we got growth and we're harvesting, but really spring and fall are actually tougher than I think we realize and require more discipline than I think we realize. And fall, summer and winter are actually more beneficial than I think we realize. And so being able to navigate those seasons with a better understanding and awareness so we can fully allow the season to give us what we need for the next. And nature does that. Because nature doesn't get to have opinions. So nature does. Nature gets everything it needs to get out of the restoration of winter so that it can properly plant in the spring. And in springtime, it does not overpopulate seeds that it cannot sustain in the climate and the conditions that it's in right now. So it understands that. So it really does take care of itself. The research I've done on what heat does, unbelievable. I had no idea that heat was such an important ingredient for what would happen in the fall season. And so, each one is important. And knowing what that is and knowing that God's ordained it all. And it's really going back to, can we trust God?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a perfect worship song for this message is like, So Will I, you know, cause it's like, cause that song's, it's a little bit easy for us to be like, oh, if the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the rocks cry out in worship, so will I. But it's like, God, you created this nature and this nature obeys and like abides by these seasons, you know? So will I. You know, and I love that. And I love how you spoke on God just being, God is the consistent one. Right? God is going to bring the sun up every morning. You know, He is going to bring the seasons around every year. Now, I love that. We get to do the joke of us being in Texas, being like, "Are you sure?" Because I don't know if this week of spring's coming, but it is. You know, every year. You can count on Him. It's us that are flaky. It's us that are inconsistent, you know?
And, you know, we've experienced it this week. I mean, my kids, we had spring break last week. We were just itching for the warm weather. It started warming up. And then all of a sudden it's like, by the way, it's going to be 30 degrees colder by tomorrow again. And you're just like, man, I thought we were through this. But I mean, that's really how life is too. We go through something and we're like, okay, Lord, I'm going to trust you. I think I'm through it. And then one step backwards feels like God's abandoned us. And instead, we need to recognize that that's part of the rhythms. Nothing goes one way than the next. It's completely, everything's a transition. Everything goes through phases, but God's in it all, and we'll just trust Him. God doesn't cause it all, but He's in it all when we invite Him to be. And when He's in it, we'll be right where we need to be in due season. And I love that word. I feel like God's been showing me that word a lot lately, like due season. Like, what is due season? It's when it's supposed to be due. And there's calls and purposes on our lives, and there's seasons that are due. And right now, we always look at due season as the season that we want life to be a certain way. That's what. But no, like God might. That's what I want to do. But it's not. Like sometimes, right now, it's due season for me to work in some inner work. It's due season for me to maybe let go of that pride and offense. Might be due season for me to work on my relationship or my marriage. Not just whatever season we choose. And
I think too that when you can take a step back, you can say, "Oh, I'm glad that came first." Because I want to know how to steward this next one that I want.
Absolutely.
If that didn't come first, I think of that too. You know, have you ever had something in your life to where you built it, right? And so you're the one who's repping for it, and fill in the blank, whatever this can be. You know, this can be at your job, this can be in your family, this can be at your house, this can be a personal hobby of yours. You came up with this. You built it, you were maintaining it, but it started to get exhausting. And then some external force, maybe it was a person, maybe it was the business closed down that you were doing your hobby at, whatever, it took it away. And you felt good about it because you were like, oh, thank God, I don't know if I could have kept that up for a minute. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've ever experienced something like that. Like, you know, let's just say that you were really into rock climbing. Right. And so you built this whole thing. I'm like, I'm gonna go rock climbing. I'm gonna do all these different things. I'm gonna go every week, all this different stuff. And then you're like, oh man, it's actually expensive to pay for it every week. It's like,
I do that with my appointments. I get in flow state. I'm feeling real good. Like, oh, this week I'm about to hit it, my marks. And I fill in all my appointments for the whole week. Every minute it's like I'm meeting with somebody. And then somebody will call and cancel. And they're like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, don't worry about it. But I'm secretly like, oh, I'm glad they canceled because I was overseeding for sure. Absolutely. And I did not have the endurance to pull that off.
So it's like,
but I was excited when I did it.
Exactly. Like, and we all wanted to do these things, and then we're like, oh man, thank goodness. You know, I think that's that same thing with like going and operating and doing what God has for you instead of what you have for you. And so when you're in that season, you're like, oh man, I'm glad that we didn't get to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have been prepared.
Yeah. And I think what life has taught me and experience is like, if God isn't the starter of it, I really don't want to do it. I got enough responsibility to make up my own stuff for me. And if it's my thing I'm making up without his blessing anyways, it ain't going to be good. And even if I try to make it good, I'm not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have so much pressure keeping that thing together.
Yeah.
It's just easier to do it's like, well, if I serve God, then I won't be happy. Like, well, that's not true.
Yeah.
Like, he's such a good father. He actually wants you happier, and he knows how to get you happier more than you do.
Yeah.
So you just got to trust God.
Yeah.
Trust God.
And I think that that fulfillment that God gives us, we'll be able to receive it and benefit from it. And the thing about us receiving and benefiting from it is that, like you said, he knows us better than than how we know ourselves, right? So it's in different ways than we think, and it's always, what we want to do in our time, in our timeline. Like, don't get so married to that, because what you want to do on your time and your timeline, like, number one, it could be completely off of what God has for you. And number two, you can get to it, and then, it's like everyone who's like successful or a celebrity or something like that is like, man, there's still more that's missing. Yep. There's a piece of us that are, that only can be fulfilled by what God wants to do. And it's his idea, right? And us being able to steward that in that season. And so going into these different seasons and their characteristics, that's kind of what we talked about, what this message was about. The winter season, this being a cold and dark season. And then there was a flip for it. It was like, this is the dead and dark season, but the flip, I got your notes right here, is the hidden season.
Yeah, but I didn't do the flip really.
Oh, and this one you didn't.
I didn't. I skipped, because I had everything's good side, and I just skipped it.
That's funny you made that, because I made the graphics for it, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot we didn't do the
We didn't do them.
Yes.
That was good though, because I'm up there going like, it's okay. Yeah. There's always next week. Everybody's just got to come back.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Well, maybe we can spend some good time on the podcast here, like that cold and dark season, right? Yeah. Like that may be what we perceive it as,
right?
And that's what we can always say about it, to be upset about that season. But even for you in your personal life, right? You talking about that being a cold and dark season, like, and then it flipped. So I guess for you, how did it flip? And then what did it flip into for you? But like when you were like, because earlier you just said like, I was at the end of my winter season and I was like, oh, I finally get it now. It's like, okay, cool. We're in spring.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm such a driven person and I love movement. And if something's not moving, that means it's failing. Well, and that's how, we are conditioned, that's the standard that we live in. Yeah. But in the kingdom of God, that's not actually true.
Yeah.
Sometimes the greatest movement, when Jesus was in the tomb for 10 days and he looked dead, he was probably fighting the greatest battle to ever be fought in the history of the universe.
Yeah.
And winning. And he was down in hell doing very important things.
Right.
So we're so limited in our perspective. I always joke with you, like, I want you to make me an art piece that's like, this is what I think I'm doing. This is what my mom thinks I'm doing. This is what my friends think I'm doing. This is what God's really doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that for seasons, we look at winter seasons and we look at stagnicity and we go, this is what I think I'm doing. Here's what my mom's worried. She thinks I'm sad.
Yeah.
I think I'm lost. My friends think I'm boring. But God thinks it's important and I'm significant. And that's really, that season of winter might actually be arguably the most important season, because it's the season that we do get rid of ourselves. The dead has to go.
Yeah.
The dead cannot survive in the winter season.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's good, but we fight it. We don't want to look. Yeah. We want to always look like we're just beautiful and wonderful
and full and
full, and we're like almost carry shame, especially as Christians, like the dark seasons and the dry seasons. We're like, no, I'm just... God's, it's like, no, it's okay, actually, to have dark and dry seasons. I mean, if you really look through David, Jesus himself, Moses, they went through dark seasons. And you live in these years of obscurity when people don't even know you exist and you don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of times when God is positioning you and forming you for your best work.
Yeah. I'm curious, maybe you can dive a little bit more into that exposing thing. Like you're talking about how those seasons are like exposing.
Yeah.
Number one, obviously, because things are so... and I think the word is maybe like exposing from distractions from all these other, because I think you can be distracted by the bountifulness of your life and the fruit and the things that are going on in the plant or the harvest or all these different things, but like exposing, like it's really a time where you get to see who you are in God, you know?
And it feels so exposing.
Yeah.
We have a staff member that's going through a winter season, and they're really funny about it. And they actually posted after service in the group chat of them being in winter and being like, oh, it's cold. And, you know, it's easy to feel bad about that season. And because it is exposing. It's not just exposing to yourselves. When you start going through a winter season, you kind of start flailing a little bit. And everyone's like, everyone can kind of see it. So it can be a season that the enemy uses to create shame in our life. If you're a person that tries to always do what's right, that might create shame. If you're a person that's real driven, it might create guilt, or fear of failure. I'm failing this season. I'm not moving forward. I'm not achieving. It might be a season. So whatever it is that you struggle to believe, a winter season begins to expose that thing. It's almost like God takes away your crutches and leaves you there just bare naked. And for all to see. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about our property. It looked one way in winter. It was completely exposed. I'm like, oh, this is what it looks like. So it's bad because it exposes you, but it also is good because it actually gives you vision. It gets rid of all the stuff that doesn't belong there. So you can begin defining vision for the next season built on what's true. Not what's been generated and made up and brought in.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that that winter season is something that we can't dodge and we can't rush ourselves through winter season, you know, we can't. And it's even right now this week, it's back, winter's back. You know what I'm saying? And it's needed because, and I don't think it's needed everyone has to suffer, but it's needed because everyone, lives in this world where we make mistakes as people, where our environment is a fallen world, so they'll make mistakes and we live in that. But it's also the time, and it's why God's so good, is that you can spend the closest and build your foundation in that season too. You know, that season of worrying, that season of everything being shaken, but it's that house built on the rock and built on the sand, right? That exposure might actually make you realize, oh, I'm actually building everything on sand. My theology is built on what my life looks like when everything's going well. What about when it isn't? You know, going through those dark seasons, those are really the time where, it's like pressure can show you, are you a diamond, or it makes diamonds, or it breaks you, right? And so it's kind of like that pressure season. Anyways, that one's bleak. Let's talk about spring, right? Everyone loves spring. But that's that planting. I think that, us here right now, on staff, it was kind of like a spring season for us. There's a lot of newness, and I think that's probably that's what you call it, spring, the new season. It is new. That seems to be when a lot of things in our life is coming up, and there's a lot of hope, on the horizon. It's not like we're in the harvest season where it's everything's happening, but it's more like these are all a bunch of new things that I'm doing. A lot of people experience this, probably in the new year, right? In the new year, they got all their different resolutions and all this different stuff. And they're like, okay, what do I want to do this year versus, but you can get lost in that.
And sometimes people, even though it's a new season, again, that takes trust in God, because if you loved the season you were in, you don't really want a new season. You don't want spring to be here. You don't want to start over. I remember this last car I just got, I have a Wagoneer, and it's just big. It's wider and long. I mean, it's a big vehicle. I can fit 8 people in it. And it was the car I needed 10 years ago. It is not the car I need this season. And before we even bought it, James was like, do you really need this car? Brooklyn's driving, Tyler's driving, Kagan's driving. He's not living anymore. Denver's about to start driving. It's really just you and Aspen. And I'm like, how dare you take this from me? I am still a mother. And he's like, yeah, but you can still be a mom and not drive this vehicle. And now, as I'm filling it up with so much gas, and now I can barely park her, she's just so full, she's always in the way. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I didn't need her anymore, but I didn't want to let go of the season I was in. I loved my car being full of children and their friends and their ice cream cones. And you know what I'm saying? That was it. And but God's going no, I want to do a new thing. But sometimes we hold on to old seasons, and we talked about misplanting. Sometimes we're planting things that we're not supposed to plant, but sometimes we're planting dead seed from another season. And frustrated because it's not growing, because we don't want to let go. So spring really is a season that's beautiful, but it is a season of renewal, and it's a season that has changed things. I mean, I kind of talked about the property a little bit in Message Sunday. We had gone in there and we went through the winter. When we bought it in winter, and it had a house on it. It had all these storage buildings. for some reason, it had like over 200 barrels all over the property. I made up all kinds of theories what these barrels were used for.
Okay.
They were all over the property. It was just crazy. So first thing that we did is we started moving out all the junk, all the clutter. Then it was going through but the winter was helping us because it was cleaning out the trees.
Yeah.
Or moving stuff down. And it was actually, I was able to, in winter, when I finally got things the way I wanted, I was pleased with how it was. And then it was like overnight, we went out there and it was spring and all of a sudden there was green everywhere growing. And I'm like, I did not give this permission to do this. And there was caterpillars. You could sit in a lawn chair and look, you could have 100 caterpillars on you. Like, I don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
The spring was overwhelming. So yeah, I think it's easy to naturally go, oh, spring's great. Everyone loves spring. But I don't think we always love spring. Some people don't want the new season.
Yeah.
Brooklyn's, I kind of talked about that. She's moving off to college. So it's going to be a new season in our home. I'm actually kind of dreading the spring. So sometimes there is this grieving process that goes through every transition. There might be a grieving process because we get comfortable with where we're at. We learn to adjust. And then God's like, let's do something new. And I always joke and say that. What's God calling you to do in this season? Probably whatever you don't want to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like me. I was like, I finally got comfortable with winter. And he's like, cool, we're going to spring. And I'm like, no, I just started loving winter. I love doing nothing and being like, God just wants me to rest right now.
Yeah.
Now there's all these things to plant. I mean, even here in the church, it's like my role in 2026. I'm not even the same. My whole life is different. But God just does that. He just moves things and you've got to go through the open door and understand what that season is.
Yeah, you're right. The new season isn't always a great thing.
Always a great thing.
Now a lot of people don't like change. Some people love it. Some people welcome it, but a lot of people don't like change at all.
Yeah.
And that new season, that spring coming around is also, okay, how about seasonal? There's also seasons are triggers for people.
Yeah.
Right? You know, some people who they may have lost a loved one or things like that, like the holidays are hard. Right? So I think sometimes starting a new season too, that's a trigger for people because maybe when you grew up starting new things, there's shame in that or there's, fear or stuff like that. And so that's some things that really like.
We tend to medicate ourselves with if we don't like being uncomfortable, we do one or two things with discomfort.
Yeah.
We get comfortable in discomfort.
Yeah.
Or we keep ourselves moving all the time so we don't have to experience it.
Yeah.
So for the people that are moving too fast, seasons force you to slow down.
Yes.
And people that don't want to move at all, seasons force you to move on.
Yes.
Some people don't like moving on.
Yeah.
Some people don't like having to stop and slow down.
Yes.
And you're probably married to the person that's the opposite. Of that. Because that's just the humor of the Lord.
Yes.
To make it work that way.
Yes, for sure.
So yeah, you navigate even that in your life as you go through these seasons, and sometimes the people you're with are in an opposite state of you, responding to the season even differently. So there's frustration in season transitions, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's God's left. It doesn't mean you're missing God.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're being punished or anything like that. It just means like part of that's life, and part of that's maturing, not just in age and experience, but we have to mature spiritually to understand those seasons at times.
Yeah.
And as we grow and mature in Christ, we'll know how to respond to those differently and get everything that God has for us out of the seasons.
I mean, you bring up a good point with like the spouse, right? Like we're all in different seasons.
Yeah.
But some of us are in the same season.
Yep.
It's that I think it's that times and seasons and appointed time.
Yeah.
Right? Because we mean you might be in a different season in one aspect, but in another aspect, we're in the same season.
Complete seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, how do you recognize that? How do you because I know when you speak on Sundays, someone's like, oh man, you're speaking directly to me.
Yeah.
I'm in that season right now, you know? And this one you cast a wide net. So a lot of people, I'm sure, like that's me.
I try to cast wide because I know I'm special, you know?
Right.
And sometimes, it's like we always tend to think that everybody's experience looks like ours. So I'm like, oh my God, don't y'all just love fall?
Yeah.
And there's people like, we hate fall.
Yeah.
It gets dark early. We know winter's coming. We want summer. We like it hot. We like, whatever. We don't like James doesn't like fall.
Yeah.
He doesn't think it's pretty.
Maybe in Texas he has a point.
I'm like, what do you mean it's not pretty? Like, look at the pretty leaves. Like, that doesn't do anything for him. Pumpkin spice latte, nothing. He doesn't even drink those. So I think we all begin to kind of associate. So I always try to do it when I speak is to be able to see, actually, everybody might have different associations to different seasons and transitions.
So what do you do when you're in your own season and people around you are in different seasons? How do you operate? How do you help them out? How do you live with that?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, if you're giving advice and counsel, you can't just give everybody the advice that you would get. That's where we really learn to rely on the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Because when we edify, edification is really a form of prophesying. And so being able for God to give you insight into what's going on, to give that word of encouragement or that word of knowledge of what's coming.
Yeah.
So It's hard to give counsel outside of the Holy Spirit. That's true. How to navigate when your spouse is in that season. I think that's why we have to understand each other better and have a little grace, because if I'm in a season that's frustrating and you're in a season and you're like, oh my God, life can't get better, I can resent you really easy for that season. Yeah. And I can begin to try to criticize your season because it doesn't like mine.
Can we read the room?
Yeah, we read the room?
Let's just say the same thing too. Like if I'm in a flourishing harvest season, you're in the winter season. You know what I mean? Like, how do I read the room when I'm with you? Or I'm like, man, life's so good. You know, like it's I'm sure it's a hard thing to navigate and move through different things like that. I mean, I know it's hard because, you know, I've experienced, you know, people around us that are, I mean, I think that's what the church is for though, right? Yeah. It's like we all are walking in different seasons right now. And hopefully what we've done is our testimony can help them get through a season. And that's why us walking through different seasons of our life give us stories and faith and things for other people to grab onto when they're in the middle of it, you know?
And I'm trying not to stay here too long because I don't want to overdo this content. But in the same token, so much of our frustration comes from being misinformed or uninformed. So I can be frustrated about my season. I can be frustrated about the season James is in. And if I begin to understand the context of that and how we're all so different, how we respond to different things, and God's doing a new thing, and I don't like new things. I do like new things. I tend to say yes to too much. I plant too many seeds, and this person doesn't plant enough seeds. You know, understanding that helps us have grace for each other, grace for ourselves, but also discipline. You know, we tend to live with either like, oh, I just give myself grace. You probably need some discipline. I know I just give myself discipline. You probably need some grace. So what we really need is information. We need context for it. So I'm trying to navigate this conversation to help marriages. To help people that are in different seasons of their life, grieving through kids and not understanding that all of a sudden, I had that 5-year journal. We've been talking about some of that. And it's interesting because I've recognized that when I go and I journal, it's just a few lines a day and I locate where I'm at for the day. And sometimes I'm just saying how I feel that day. Sometimes I'm maybe writing something God showed me. But now that I've been doing it, I'm in my 6th year of doing it. And I can look back and go like, oh my God, I just feel so upset right now. And I'm like, oh, it's July. I feel a weird rhythm every July, but you know why? Because our house is the newness of summer is wearing off. It's chaotic. My kids all work at the camp, so they're in and out of the house. They've got some friends coming over. Our rhythms are kind of off. Church, you're not really being able to start something new because so many people are traveling. You're trying to hang on, get everybody back, the family back together before you dig in. School's coming. The kids are actually all aging, and there's a reality in that. And it's a demand for me as a mother. And if I'm not careful and I don't understand the season I'm in, I begin to be like, I'm just depressed. Something's wrong with me. I need to go mess with my hormones. Maybe I have a disease. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? We get in our heads instead of recognizing, oh, it's just a season shifting.
Well, you know, it's what you're saying. It's your other favorite topic, which is mindsets. It's those ruts. It's the ruts that are in your mind, those little soldiers, and they'll go through and do the same things every year. And if you're not taking those thoughts captive, I was just talking to somebody this earlier this morning, like if you're not taking those thoughts captive, then number one, that's what you just said. You'll blow it up, make it a whole thing like, oh, I think I got a disease, something's wrong. It's like, hold up, no. I'm just in this season. And it's what you're saying. Season. And that's why you preach this message, is to be like, I'm going to define this season for everyone. And define the season. Number one, you can see where you are. And number two, you can see what each season normally entails, right? Because it'll give you expectations. How often are we frustrated because we have the wrong expectations?
Wrong expectations. And we're frustrated because we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't like tough seasons. Tough seasons are actually what make us into the person that we are. And God gives us the good seasons to give us hope and to bless us because He wants us to live in beautiful life. He wants those things for us. But those tough seasons, those are actually our teachers. That's when we grow. That's when we strengthen. That's when we learn empathy and compassion and get challenged in our forgiveness. It's those testing seasons that actually are the ones that grow us. And so being able to, you know, that scripture talks about, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. You know, we looked at it, I was like, I'm not going to be grateful that my tires on my car fell off. Like, you can be grateful that the tires fell off, but you could be grateful for the season that you're learning patience. You could be grateful that you even have a person to call to help you fix the tires today.
It's so funny. Like, challenging yourself to be grateful for things. I'll say this because I don't think she'll be upset if I tell the story, but Abby Padilla, she did this was like years ago. This must have been like 5 years ago. She was like, I was doing this, her daily affirmations, and like she was sharing us with like, she's like, I'm thankful for the trees. And it literally changed her mindset by like looking around, saying all the things that she's thankful for.
It does.
You know?
Absolutely does.
Yes.
Don't get me on mindsets. Don't get me on
I know.
gratitude. I'm gone. I'll be gone.
It'll get you.
We'll get a different podcast immediately. But it really does. And that's, again, going back to just the seasons, being able to be grateful for the season we're in, understanding the season we're in is significant, and you are moving and you don't feel like it. You can't ever see when roots are developing in the ground.
Yeah.
You know, we don't see it until it really pops up. And actually, it's kind of like being pregnant. You know, it's building in you, it's forming. And I remember like every night, like the night before I have the kid, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to have a baby. And then the next day I have the baby, and I'm like, maybe you just go back in for just a minute. It's actually, it's a little bit quieter. It's a little bit easier. So each doesn't have a different dynamic.
Yeah.
They're all really important in that formation season. Sometimes more is being done under the soil, in the womb, in the darkness, without the spotlight that will ever be done outside of it.
Yeah.
It's so significant.
Yeah.
And we got to trust that it is, and let God really fully form us.
Yeah, and God's not the author of confusion, so he's not going to he doesn't want you to be upset and frustrated in your season, right? He wants you to be able to have peace. And it's hard to be like, peace and comfort are different things, right? Because they say so much, or we say them so much together, like peace and comfort, but like for you to just sit and be in discomfort, like means that you are possibly doing what God's calling you to do when you're in that discomfort. And if you can have peace about being in discomfort, you'll be able, that's stronger than being comfortable in a stagnant situation. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the challenge. How do you look and find and search for the peace that God wants to give you, also in the uncomfortable situation that he's challenging you to be in, right? That's where we are. That's where we are with our seasons in our lives. And so there's so much to add on to this, but that's why you're speaking on it next week. You know,
speaking on it next week,
going into that season. So yeah, this is it's been a really good message, and we built up to it. I love that when you were like, if you ever like built up a restaurant to somebody, and then you take them there, and you're like, this.
I know, it's feeling that. Yeah, go back to our expectations, right? Yeah, I'm like, this is really good. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I thought it was great. I thought the food at this restaurant was just as good as you've been describing.
I got a lot of good feedback on it. It's so funny because a lot of times the messages when I'm communicating, the ones that make people think the most, the thinking face is very similar to the bored face. And so then I'll be like, man, today no one was feeling this. And then I'll get so many great text messages or comments, and I'm like, okay, thank goodness.
Okay, I got
it was
something
helping
for you.
people.
If you are a congregation member and you want to tell Pastor Steph, I'm gonna speak for you in this.
Okay.
If you want to tell her that you enjoyed her message, don't say good job. Say what you got out of the message. Would you say that's accurate?
Helps, yeah.
That helps, because also what it does too is that people, you may say one sentence to 15 people in a room, and God will reveal something different out of each person has a different thing.
Absolutely.
You get 15 different things, and they're not the same.
It helps because when people give me feedback, it teaches me as well, because again, we could all be so blindsided by what our opinion or theory is. And then when you hear somebody else's story or perspective, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
So those things help me to understand, things that are happening. And also it's very affirming, when you feel like God's giving you something to say and you're speaking on something, and then you have people go like, that actually is exactly right. It makes me go, thank you, God. I felt that push, and then to see that it made a difference.
And I'm saying that because number one, I had to do this too, because I was like, I always go up to you and tell you good job on your message afterwards, but I actually think you'd benefit more from what I got out of your message, right? That would not only help you out being like personally, oh, thank God, thank God that I was listening to his voice and his body, but also it just kind of gives you like, okay, where are we going now? Like like as somebody, if I'm preaching this process and you're telling me what you got from it, I know what the next step is to take. Yeah. As a speaker, because like, how are you developing this?
Yep. People ask me that a lot. Like, how do you develop your messages? And I'm like, well, I wait to hear from God. But sometimes the way that God speaks to me is through my conversations. And I'll go like, man, God, I talked to 6 people today, and every single one of them highlighted this facet. Yeah. And that's how I can kind of know that God's actually, that's due season. Yeah. This conversation is something that the body of Christ right now is dealing with. And so God uses people to help me to understand what he's saying to me in different ways. It's not always just like the sky rolls back and the clouds are open and then the sun comes shining and then he says, Stephanie. Usually when he says Stephanie, I'm usually about to be in trouble or like, there's going to be some conviction following that. So that's not usually how Sundays go down through that voice, but it goes through many different voices.
And I think that this is we talk a lot of culture on this podcast, you know, and a lot more of our church culture and things like that. And I think the listeners are people, we always talk about who is the audience at a lot of things. Who's the audience of this podcast? I think it's people that are tapped into what's going on here, you know, and that are highly involved. And so even me saying that feedback thing, help us with our feedback in the culture of our church. Help us with the feedback with things like that, but also feedback on things like RSVPing to events. You know what I mean? Like this response, when we respond, it helps everybody, you know? It helps everyone. It also, when you respond, it helps you outwardly process it. Sometimes you never thought of something until someone asks you a question about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So if you could go in that lobby after every message, you go, what'd you get out of it?
Yeah.
You know, it makes you go, oh snap, what did I get out of it?
Yeah.
Right? It challenges you and what you're thinking.
Yep.
You know? And I think we can do that to tie it back with the seasons in our lives too. If you can look through your life and go, what did you get out of the summer season? What did you get out of the winter season?
Yep.
What did you actually harvest in the harvest season?
Yep.
What did you plant in the planting season? Like, go back. I think that's the 5-year journal thing so important. You got a lot of our staff some of those, and I have to. Now I will say this morning I had to write for 2 days because I missed, but I'm catching up. There was one time before we went to Belize that I didn't write for a couple days. I had to fill in 13 days off memory on what I felt that day.
Good for you. I can do like 3, but that's about
I did 13. That was the biggest one, but I'm tapped into my 5-year journal. So would you suggest that it's a good way to value your seasons?
Yeah.
So look through those journals and things like that?
I think so. Yep. For sure. I've enjoyed doing that. I started March 29th.
Oh, wow.
2021.
You're coming up.
So this will be 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a new journal? Because it's the 6th
Yeah, I had to get a new journal. So now my journal.
You open it up and then
if I want to go and find what I used to think, I have to go to the other journal. Yeah. So this is fresh.
You're right. They don't have like a lot of room on them. So like sometimes mine overflow into my other journal too. Yeah. So I can be like, go to journal for rest of today's thoughts.
Yeah. I'm glad it doesn't though. But I really like it because I use it to, like if something happened today, even today, it was Caden's birthday. I got to hang out. Well, then next year when I flipped to it, I'm like, oh, today's Caden's birthday. Yeah. Caden, happy birthday. Won't be as good as last year, but
remember when we yeah,
it helps you to be present and like I have good memories. It helps you if God tells me something, or maybe I have a dream that I don't understand, I'll write the dream in there. Yeah. If God's got something He's impressing upon me, I'll have that in there. Yeah. It's a fascinating way to chart your history with God. Yeah. And where you're at. And so just seeing my spiritual growth through that, seeing what I was celebrating, it brings me back, throughout the Old Testament, they always talked about going back and create a memorial, an altar of remembrance. It's kind of like being able to do that and being able to every year come back to this day and have an altar of remembrance moment with the Lord.
So if you want to document your seasons, get a 5-year journal.
I'm big on 5-year journals. Let's do a podcast.
Yeah, you'll send a link to somebody who asked for it.
Yeah.
All right.
Free 5-year journals.
Yeah, we should podcast. Do that. That would be good.
Put 5-year journal on the line.
Oh, are you trying to make like a link to click?
I'm just making stuff up at this point.
Jake, do that in post.
Just do the thing, make the thing. No, they're very, the ones that I give as gifts are a little pricier because they're nice.
Yeah, they are nice.
I travel with mine. I take it everywhere, so I get a good quality one. But I do think there's ones that aren't.
I take mine everywhere. I won't say that I fill them in everywhere. I have to fill them in sometimes when I get back, but like I do take mine everywhere. I'm big on habits as well, mindset habits. So I've habits stacked in my morning. So I do have a pretty rigorous 5-year journaling moment. I read our church devos, which are fantastic, by the way. If you haven't read those are really cool. And that helps you also get in alignment in tune with the body. Yeah. Those are really cool. Yeah. Then I always have a devotional that I do every year by somebody from the 1800s, really old wisdom, That's good.
And then I read my word every day and pray.
Yeah, you do have a strong habit stack.
But I have to because I am the most undisciplined person. So it's not like, habits are easy for you. No, they're not. That's why I had to literally read books on habits and create this because I would not be able to survive what I'm doing in this season without meeting with the Lord every day. And the greatest thing to changing my life was daily bread. And I mean, when I meet with our leaders here, it's like, cool, what's God have next for me? I'm like, daily bread. Yeah. And that is such a key ingredient. Yep. I would not be the same without it. And so I do, if I travel, I take that content all with me. It doesn't have to be that way. I'm a paper person. Yeah. I'm sure there's digital ways to do any of that, but I had to force rules on myself because if so, it's very easy to justify not being in the Word today because life is busy.
Yeah.
So I had to like create a formula, and then I became a coffee drinker in the mix because it was kind of like, so that was part of the habit stacking book. Like if you stack habits and then give yourself rewards for the habits. When I drink coffee, I read my Bible.
That's good.
Well, now those things go together.
That's that mindset mixed with seasons.
And habits. I mean, it's all just coming together. This has been my life. And there's a part of me that's pretty flighty and forgetful, and I got some ADHD kind of tendencies, but that's where I have learned to go like, but in the midst of all of that, that's okay. That's how God created me and designed me. So what can I learn about myself and discover so that I can continue to grow, continue to develop? And so I've put a lot of systems in my life. I'm not a systems person, but if you talk to me, you think I am, because that's how I have prioritized and protected the things that matter most.
Because you took the time to understand, you know, and that's what this message is, taking time to understand all these different things so that you can be able to approach them in a different way, change your expectations, all those different things. So my approach and my habit stacking that I'm adding is I'm learning Spanish. Started yesterday.
Duolingo.
That's my new one, my Duolingo. So edificio means building in Spanish.
Nice. Yeah. Nice.
So challenge me in Spanish. You see me in the lobby. I'm asking for the smoke. Bring it.
Bring the smoke. All right.
So anyways, that is our podcast for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see y'all next week. If you want to check out full messages, you can find us at LS Church on all podcast platforms. And you can watch full services with worship at LS Church Alvin on YouTube.